wonderful Apple product. Shout out to the AirPods.
I'm telling you.
uh, let's see, where were we? We were on advocacy.
Yep, just jumped into that one.
So when you help others see what you see and how you think about it, giving examples of the data you select, stating the meaning that you find in the examples, and explaining the steps in your thinking. You describe your understanding of the other person's reasons. Um, if you see negative consequences to what others are doing, identify the consequences without attributing intent to create those consequences. Distinguish between intent and impact. And the last one for advocacy, when you choose to disclose your emotions, do so without implying that the other person is primarily responsible for creating your emotional reaction. What you got in these, Matt?
Well, what I think are pretty good points. Um, Help others see what you think and how you think by giving examples. One of the things I said there is personal examples bring your point into a realistic frame of reference, and they humanize you to your audience. So I taught a lot of MRT, Master Resilience Training, back in BAMC and up in Baumholder. One of the things that people have said years later, in fact, last month I got a new provider in who said, "You look really familiar. Did you teach MRT?" Yep, I sure did. It humanizes you. It makes you relatable in a
Right.
time where they are otherwise prepared to go to sleep. They're otherwise prepared to sit through a death by PowerPoint, and getting your point across when you're teaching requires you keep people's attention. And I think by using your own personal examples, they don't see you as just this person who was tasked to stand up there and read bullet points A, B, and C, right? Describing your understanding of the other person's reasoning. This is couples therapy 101. What I hear you saying is, or I think what you just said was, something along those lines, where you reframe what they said so that you understand and they understand, right?
Yeah.
So that you can clear the air on that. And then if you see negative consequences to what others are doing, identify the consequences without intent to create those consequences. And this is actually one that I use with my daughter. Are you aware that this happened as a result of your action? Are you aware that because you did or didn't do this thing, that this happened, right?
Yeah.
You don't say, you've starved the dog, you're killing the dog. You say, did you feed the dog today? Because I noticed that his bowl is empty and that he's whining in the corner. Did you know those are related, right? So did you realize that this is how some people perceive your actions? Because a lot of times when we're talking to our younger soldiers who have all the vim vigor, right? They've got all the belief that they're right, that what they're doing is exactly what they should be doing, because at one point in their life they saw a leader or a mentor do it. So that's their hammer in their toolbox, the only thing they've got. But did you realize that this is the way people see you when you do that? And bringing that up to them, allowing them to see themselves in a mirror and go, "Oh, nope, didn't realize that at all." It can help them move forward and really, like in that first part here, reframe their thinking.
Right.
And then when you choose to disclose your emotions, do so again without implying the other person is primarily responsible for creating emotional reactions. You made me mad, or you made me punch the wall, or you made me leave.
That's
Nope,
right.
doesn't work. Again, couples therapy 101. When this happens, I feel.
Right.
When you do this, it makes me feel. When you say these things, I think. You're showing the if then, right? You did this. We have proof that you did these things over here. Did you know that when you did them, this is how it impacted me? So that's that advocacy without being a jerk about it, right? Without being a stubborn stone who says this is my standpoint and the only place I will move is directly forward because that's my road.
That's good. Look, for those that don't know, here we go. You can see us. Look, Matt, we're on. I'm going back and forth between us and the actual article so they can see the layout.
Perfect.
All right. So inquiry: find out how others see the situation by asking them to give examples of the data they select and to explain the steps in their thinking. Ask for help in finding out what you may be missing by encouraging others to identify possible gaps or errors in your thinking. When you have difficulty with how others are acting, ask them to explain what leads them to act as they do in a tone that suggests they may have a reasonable answer. Say that again. In a tone that suggests they may have a reasonable answer. Inquire into others' emotions. Ask for help in exploring whether you are unknowingly contributing to the problem. Yes, that you got to do that sometimes. You got to realize that you could potentially be the reason or supporting the reason of the problem is happening. Um, you got a couple notes right there. You want to hit on them, Matt?
Just a couple, yeah. So find out how others see the situation by asking them to give examples of the data they select and explain the steps in their thinking. Just honestly, the best way to do that, and again with children, wonderful. You have to have patience when you do this. But just simply saying, what made you come to that conclusion, right? What made you think what you're thinking? What made you do what it was that you did? And as long as they're old enough to not just say, I don't know, or I suppose old enough to not say, I don't know, and not quite old enough so as they don't say, I don't care,
Right.
or whatever. Working through it like reasonable adults, getting them to explain why they did what they did gives you a better frame of how you can approach that, whether you're a parent or you're a leader or a peer. Finding out what got people to where they are right now is going to help you better approach what it is that you need to talk about. The one that you hit on twice there, I love that one. When you have difficulty with how others are acting, ask them to explain what leads them to act as they do in a tone that suggests they may have a reasonable answer. It is difficult in times of high emotion to genuinely care, and sometimes even genuinely act like you care, that other people are going to give you a response.
Yep.
As with children, as with juniors, as with peers, and anybody, if you don't act like what they're saying matters, they're not going to believe you are worth saying it to. And then inquiring as to others' emotions, be willing to accept that they're going to have emotions that you may not think are warranted. I can tell you, I wrote that down because I have a 10-year-old girl who has emotions that I genuinely do not think are warranted most of the time. But you know what? It's her life.
That's
and
right.
She does things right now based on those emotions. So and thank God my wife prods me and talks to me and has conversations in a calm, caring manner, and says, now go talk to her and find out why she did that. Okay, all right. She makes me better every day. But
shout out to the wife.
And then a shout out to the wives, absolutely. Being genuinely inquisitive and saying, I get it, you're not me. I understand, and this is for children, this is, again, for juniors, for anybody you're having a conversation with. You don't have my brain. You don't have my thoughts. And even if we're presented with exactly the same data, we are not going to come to the same conclusion because of our experience, because of the way that we process things, because of things that have happened to us in the past. So getting to an understanding that they have different emotions and truly accepting that can help you move forward a lot better with them and them with you, because that openness makes you more worthy of being spoken to.
That's right.
One of the things that you said there, ask for help in finding out what you may be missing by encouraging others to identify possible gaps or errors in your thinking. We have a small chat group in which all of us quite frequently ask for help in finding out what we may be missing. You know,
that's right.
That's what in that group is growing, thank God. But being inquisitive and being willing to say, I don't know everything, and I might not be right, even though I think I am. I might not be.
That's right. And so what you guys can see here is as we're coming to a close, you can see the chart. And in this chart, it explains when you're going from high advocacy to high inquiry and what you can see may happen as you transition in between those different stages, and why it's important to utilize advocacy and inquiry in a good balance, right? Because it's having too much of one and too little of the other, or too flip flop it. It could be bad, right? So you can see right here, you could be imposing and explaining. You could have mutual learning over engaging. You could have it interviewing, integrating, observing, and withdrawing. And so there's a good and a bad. So as they say in when we're talking about strengths, character strengths, they talk about a shadow side. So there's a shadow side in each one of these. Some of the shadows cast are larger than the others, which what I'm saying is if you find yourself in one of these, it could have more damage than in the other one. So that's why it's always important to learn and be knowledgeable so that you can be more aware and intentional. Okay. So inquiry versus judgment. Be curious, not judgmental, right? Ted Lasso dart scene. Don't judge
So
what you.
that's one that I had talked about previously. And if you guys haven't seen the TV show Ted Lasso, it's hilarious. It's on Apple TV. I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. Well, I'm not sure you can find it elsewhere. Actually.
I think it's just
you can find it on Apple TV for sure. It's about personal growth and a few other things. It's a great comedy. But the takeaway point from that is don't judge what you don't know, or you're likely to underestimate people, and it will be to your loss.
Right. Absolutely. Because you can learn something from everybody, even a turd leader.
That's true.
I would say a turd leader. Let's just say a bad leader, a horrible, inexperienced individual. Huh?
Ineffective leader.
Or toxic. That's it. Toxic leader.
Or toxic. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was good, bro. That was a really good one. Very technical, like we were talking about before we started. If you don't, I had to look over it a couple of times just to make sure that I was reading the charts right. But then it started making sense. So to have that available, hopefully it helped you guys out there that's listening and watching. When we go to the podcast, straight audio podcast, and start putting this up for those that'll be listening, we'll probably just point you to the maybe put a supplemental or something in there so you can see stuff like that when we're using charts and graphs. So outside of that, man, hey, you got anything you want to close with, Matt?
I have to say that everything that we're doing through these shows is about personal growth, as well. It's about finding out more about yourself so that you can be better. One of the things that we need to make sure that we're doing is not just being better for other people, but we need to make sure that we're being better for ourselves as well.
That's right.
So if you look at advocacy and inquiry and you say, hey, I'm not genuinely inquisitive enough, think about the like you say, the shadow side, flip side of I want to be inquisitive so that people see me as worthwhile, right? Absolutely. I need to question so that I can have those relationships with people. But at the same time, I need to be inquisitive for me so that I can learn about people and be that genuine person that I'm trying to be. I think we got a great thing going here, and I love that people are actually listening to this and asking questions. And I love the fact that we're able to share what I think is knowledge and possibly even some wisdom. And if anybody has any questions or anything, we'd love to be fronted those questions during the show, and maybe we can talk about them during if we have time, or answer them afterwards. We're trying to grow this thing like you and I were talking about and make it the best it can be.
That's right. Matt, you know what the next show, what's our next show on the topic?
I'm going to have to look up real quick. It is 5 things high-performing teams do. And that is another Harvard Business Review article. So 5 things high-performing teams do.
That's right. So if you guys are available, soon we're gonna be just on audio. So while you're driving, you ain't got to worry about trying to turn it on and watching us. You can just listen. But if you can, go ahead and tune in. And if you're interested in actually reading the article before we touch on it, shoot us a message. Let us know. Come on to the chat group. You can go onto the YouTube page and you can type a message in there, and we'll try to answer those questions. It'd be good if we can get those ahead of time. That way we can address them. Some of the questions that you guys may have before, and so we have a group of leaders that we bounce stuff off, like Matt was saying, and it won't be just us saying this is how it is and whatever. It'll be uh, we've not debated, but we've gone in and we took it to the group of leaders, our council, and see what the majority thinks. What are their opinions on this question? What do you think the best answer? What do we all think the best answer should be, or the answers? There's not always just one right answer, right? Um, so yeah, man, we're trying to build this thing. We're gonna grow it as large and as wide, as high and wide as we can, vertical and horizontal. And we look forward to you guys growing with us. On that note, I'm gonna go shower, change, get ready for this event today. And Matt, take care. Try not to have to go to the wonderful place that we talked about earlier.
We'll stay away from there.
Just stay away from there. And a shout out to my sponsor, Miss the Jewel Junkie. She brought me some coffee with the old progressive sign on there. We done raided my son's house down here in Texas. He's trying to make sure we don't wear out our welcome. So, all right, love you guys. Take it easy, and we'll be seeing you guys again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace.